You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And that is a quote by James Clear from the book Atomic Habits, which has been a bestseller for quite a while. So, welcome again, or for the first time, to the Profitable Photographer. I am super excited about my guest today, Jonathan Lee. I've noticed that conversations I've had with successful real estate photographers have had a lot of listens and watches on YouTube. So um, you're in for a treat, and I know a lot of people are perking up. Yes, I want to hear what he has to say. Thank you so much for finding me on Instagram, for uh, joining my show wherever you listen or on YouTube and all that. So, who's this guy? He is a professional photographer, educator, and retired Navy instructor based in Northeast Florida. He's a PPA CPP, master photographer, photographic craftsman, PPA counselor, and three-time Imaging USA speaker. And he's known for teaching technical precision, real world business experience, and straight to the point motivation. Through his company, JW Lee Media, he specializes in real estate and also architecture, commercial, and creative photography. And he also loves mentoring photographers on business and AI and client experience, and also building stronger photography communities. So, welcome, Jonathan. Thank you so much for saying yes to my my appeal for speakers a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. So, you give us the 1 minute synopsis of how you got into photography or real estate photography or
Sure.
something.
Sure. I'm a Navy brat. I grew up in a Navy family. We were stationed in Iceland in the early 90s. Started picking up a camera there when I was a young teenager, um, and just kind of fell in love with the process of taking pictures. I've always been a big techie as well, so the technical side of it has been really cool. I joined the Navy in '96. I did 16 years active, was forced retired under government cutbacks in 2012. Did 5 more years as a contractor, so 21 years in total. And throughout that time, just always had a camera with me. I was always going to really exciting places and seeing new things. So I was always carrying a camera with me. And I knew that one day when I was finally done serving, I would love to be a professional photographer, making a living doing professional photography. So in 2017, I started my business full time, and I started doing real estate as a way just to fill in the gaps between weddings and portraits, and quickly realized there was only a handful of really extremely talented real estate photographers in the area that did full service photography. They did video and virtual tours and all that stuff. So I just really started diving into the rest of that, and it took off. Within less than 3 years, was grossing six figures a year, and haven't stopped since.
I love that story. So, what I'm hearing is you can carry a dream and not have to do it right now. You know, you were doing other things, and I don't know if you had a thought of like, I can't just quit what I'm doing. I mean, you can't, well, you could quit the Navy at a certain point. Obviously, you re-upped over and over, but
Mhm.
you had this, when the time is right, I'm going to do photography. And so I think for some people, that's probably very encouraging to know that you don't have to just jump in feet first right now.
Right.
And also, when you said you tried lots of things, and then you started noticing that one of the things you enjoyed and were good at, I'm assuming, uh, that you started noticing you were good at it, that you realized there was kind of an open field
Hmm.
in real estate for the quality full service architecture. And Was that in Florida that you
Yeah,
started?
so I started here just in the Northeast Florida area, but over the years I've expanded my service. I shoot homes in Georgia. I've gone as far as South Carolina. I'm down in Miami, Orlando, Tampa very often. So I get to travel a little bit more now doing the photography side as well as the educational side as also.
So how do you get work out of your local community?
So when I first started out back in 2017, what I did was I made up a flyer, um, and I went to the local Staples and I had like 500 or 1,000 of these flyers, high quality, printed off. And I would drive. If anybody knows anything about Jacksonville, it's massive.
Hmm.
So I would drive to one area of town. I would pull into like a Target parking lot and I would get on my phone and I'd Google real estate agency, and I would just plot out a map and just go and hit every real estate agency and walk in and say, "Hey, can I stick some flyers in your realtors' mailboxes?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." So went back and started stuffing mailboxes. I did that for probably about the first year or 18 months. Um, it's the only advertising I have ever done. Um,
Wow.
the ball got rolling from there, and then it became strictly just a word of mouth business, which has a lot of benefits, as anybody that knows in the photography world. Um, a lot of the times, your low hanging fruit kind of that's where all your problems are. So
Hmm.
once you become more of a word of mouth, more of a niche business, your ideal client ends up referring you to another ideal client,
Hmm.
and you just don't end up working with terrible people. So
Yeah, yeah, I
I went
get
through
that.
that whole phase of, I'll take a picture of a toilet if you pay me,
Right.
to now where it's like I can be a little bit more selective with who I work with and how I work, which is wonderful.
So tell me if you think what I'm going to say next is true. Word of mouth doesn't work by sitting around doing zero and
No,
hoping
it
they'll
does
find
not.
you. Like you
No,
knocked on doors, you met people, you made that flyer, you got yourself up and out. And I'm assuming you also built relationships with the realtors that were
yes,
happy with you.
yes,
Uh,
very
so
important.
thoughts on all of that? Because a lot of times people say, "Oh yeah, it's word of mouth," but if you really look at their history, they worked hard to get those mouths
Right.
talking about them.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that is important in terms of, um, especially in this industry. It's a little bit different than, say, like a wedding or a portrait photographer area. There's a lot more artistic freedom there, that you have. Whereas with the real estate side of things, we have, different ethics and sometimes different laws that we're kind of bound by as
Mm,
far as what you can and can't do in real estate photography. So a lot of what you have to do in the early stages of being a real estate photographer is understand where you're willing to compromise, and most importantly understand where you're going to draw your line in the sand, right? So if you don't go into this industry by setting certain guidelines and certain rules that you stand fast to, you're going to get burnt out, you're going to get walked all over, you're going to get used and abused. um, for example, discounts.
hmm.
I don't do discounts until I've been shooting with somebody for, over a year. And that's only if they've done 10 houses with me in the last year. So I never give discounts right off the bat, because if somebody is calling you and they're more worried about price than they are about quality, then that shows where their mindset is.
Right.
So that's kind of one of those red flags for me.
But
And then,
what's it?
just
So
the other
number
things are
two.
like, yeah. So the other thing is, making sure that you, let realtors know that you're not a cleaner, you're not a stager, you're not there to, move furniture around and things like that. You expect the home to be prepared and ready to go by the time you get there, and that's
Mm,
not trying to say that you're, some kind of prima donna photographer, like you're better than that. What it is to say is that if you plan to make money in this industry, you have to rely a little bit more on volume than you do on, having that freedom to be on location for multiple hours. So everything that I do is based on an allotted amount of time and location and things like that. So I have to stick to a schedule in order to be able to shoot 3 to 5 homes a day. And if every home I show up to, I'm playing the cleaner and the stager and the mover and all of that stuff, then that's just eating up time that I'm not getting paid for.
Right, right.
So, I go through and I'll tweak things if I need to very quickly. But if I show up and the home is a wreck and, I tell the realtor, hey, we either shoot it how it sits or we reschedule. And if we reschedule, typically there's a fee involved in that.
Hmm.
And that's kind of been my line in the sand type thing. My realtors know that it's their job to make sure that the homeowners know, hey, it's your job to get this home ready to go. He has a list. Here's the list. These are all of the things that are ideal that you want to get done. And that way, when I show up to a home, it's ready to shoot, and I get to be the photographer and not the stager.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I imagine you've had early in this iteration of your career, you learned that the hard way, or did somebody that, mentored you tell you this in advance? Like,
So crazy thing is, I didn't have any real mentors coming into this. I
okay.
had a couple people that I did some side work for when I first started out, but nobody that I could really reach out to and ask, hey, what do you do in this situation? I just started noticing trends,
Hmm.
and I'm very attentive to how people work and things like that. My educational background, I got started learning about education as being a drill instructor. So I was a jet engine mechanic for 21 years, but I was also a drill instructor for 4 of those years. So I learned a lot while I was doing that. Became a master training specialist, and I'm very good at reading people and knowing when I'm being taken advantage of and when I'm not.
Hmm.
So a lot of it is just really understanding who you're working with and making sure that they understand who they're working with. Setting
Hmm.
those clear boundaries and clear expectations and whatnot. And that's not to say that I don't go above and beyond for my clients, because if you ask any of my clients that I've been working with for the last 10 years, most of them, they pay me extra to do stuff that they don't even need, just because they're like, well, you don't charge enough, John. You're too amazing. I'm gonna pay you extra. I do go above and beyond for my clients. But I do go above and beyond for my clients that go above and beyond for me. So it's a
Sure.
mutual respect thing.
So how do you make sure they know who they're working with? I love that statement.
Yeah. So that's something that I kind of set the tone early on. I send them a couple things when I first start working with them. First thing that I send is that prep sheet. That prep sheet is kind of what they can give to their clients to let them know this is everything that needs to get ready. And then the second one I send over is kind of it helps them get more listings. It's an I love my photographer sheet. And it basically lists like all of my different accomplishments and awards and things like that. It's ammunition for them when they get into a listing appointment. They can say, hey, this is the photographer I work with. And they say every time they break that out, it's their trump card. They always get the listing. So, um, but a lot of it is really just educating your clients. I see so many, I'm in a couple different real estate photography groups on Facebook, and I see so many times uh, people having the same problems over and over and over again. This person didn't pay, the house wasn't ready, that da 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 da. So I see all of those things and I say, how do I prevent that from happening?
Right.
Educate your client, right?
Yeah.
You have to let them know ahead of time. They're not mind readers. They don't know how you work. So you have to let them know, this is my standard. Um, you let me know what your standard is, what you need. I'll make sure that I deliver that. Here's what I need on my end. I need the home to be ready. I need, clutter out of the way, things like that. I need you to be on time or provide access timely. Um, you know, you respect my boundaries, I respect your boundaries. But really, it's educating the client. Talk to them. When you get out. when you get out when you're first starting out, it's very difficult to walk through a house and photograph the home properly while carrying on a conversation because you're still kind of new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, 10 years into it, I'm on autopilot. I can walk into a house and carry on a super elaborate conversation while
Mm-hmm.
the realtor's just following me around and my brain is just on autopilot working through the house. I take that time very seriously, especially if they're a new client. I talk to them about what I'm doing. I talk to them about different positions that I take and different angles that I choose and why I choose those things. Because it lets them know that one, they're working with a professional that knows what they're doing, not just a guy that showed up with a camera,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a lot of the times that's what they think. I just need to hire somebody that has a fancy camera,
Yeah, just
right?
come
They
and
don't understand.
shoot for an
Yeah,
hour.
they don't understand because they think the same way that us photographers think. It's a house. How hard could it be?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought the same thing too 10 years ago. And I'm here to tell you that real estate photography is not for the faint of heart. It takes, it doesn't take long to, uh, to get it figured out, but it takes a long time to really master it and really iron out to where you can work on autopilot. And so a lot of that is, while I'm working through a home, I just talk to the client about what it is that I'm doing, the different types of services that I offer, what my turnaround time is like. And then I ask them, what has your experience been like with other photographers? What have you seen that you didn't like? What have you seen that you liked?
Mm.
Have you worked with somebody else prior to me? Why are you not working with them anymore? Why did you choose to come with me? So it's kind of a back and forth, trying to qualify where they're coming from as far as where I'm coming from. And so that way we can both understand each other's needs and meet each other's needs.
I like it. So you mentioned money. Um,
Hmm.
when do you get paid? How do you communicate that so that you know you're not holding the bag?
Yeah. So luckily, I have for the last about 8 years used a system called HD Photo Hub. They are an entire back end system for real estate photographers. And the great thing about that is my clients can go on there, they can log in, they can schedule, they get their photos delivered and everything there. It's also a pay gate. So you can set up, excuse me, you can set up multiple different ways to handle it. But typically, the way that I do it is I have them where they can set up to book the services. I come out and I shoot. And then when I deliver, they have to pay in order to get all access to all of their media. So it stays behind that pay gate until they've paid their invoice. They don't get access to any of the media.
So you don't get money up front?
No, no, and there's a good reason for that as well. I have operated that way in the past, and there's a good portion of people that operate to where you get paid on the day of the shoot. Um, and I used to operate that way when I used a different back end system.
Hmm.
But now with the way that this system is set up, um, I like it better when they pay on delivery because a lot of the times if they end up booking a month out and they get this really high end listing and they've got me in the bag for $1,800, $2,000, and then a week before the house gets ready to go on the market or me gets ready for me to go out there and do the media, the seller gets cold feet, they pull out.
Mm,
Well, now I'm on the line for 2 grand that they paid me, you know, 3 to 4 weeks ago.
right.
And that's probably already gone out, paid for bills, paid for whatever. And so now I have to come up with that money to try and push it back to them.
Yeah.
So instead of dealing with that, I just make it to where you pay me on delivery.
Yeah.
And I never have any problems.
Well, and I would think that the level of professionalism and the relationships that you build and, all of that, the likelihood of somebody never paying is pretty slim because you're not dealing with uh, just somebody that wants to give you $150 to go shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never, in 10 years, I've never had somebody not pay
Mhm. It's like
ever.
for most of my career, I took checks
Hmm.
and um, I would I would kind of say there's a little added thing if you use a credit card. And so most people would be like, okay, I'll write you a check. And I
Yeah.
probably had 10 checks bounce in 30 plus years, and nine of them uh, made good, and one of them, the couple divorced 2 months after their wedding, and I still got
Gosh.
paid enough that it was all
Yeah.
right in advance. But yeah, it
Yeah.
if you have the right clients, the right relationship, uh, there's things we don't have to worry about. And
Right.
I can see how suddenly, oh gosh, I have to give someone 2 grand. That's a problem. Now,
Yeah.
what would happen if you did the session and the the homeowner,
Hmm.
um, after you shot it, the homeowner decided to just sell it on their own, quit the realtor, not
Hmm.
use it, what, and maybe that just doesn't happen once you get to the point that you're
That
at.
doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Um, it, it- so the way that it works for me is, and there's contracts that are in place now that help prevent that from happening to
Mm.
realtors. So most of the time when they sign what's called a listing agreement, once they sign that listing agreement, they have to go live on their MLS, multiple listing system,
Hmm.
within typically in our area, it's 48 hours. It varies depending on where you are in the country. So typically, my agents, they're signing that listing agreement the day that I show up to do the shoot. That's how most of my agents do it.
Mm.
So they know that that person's committed at
Got it.
that point, right?
That makes sense.
Now, if for some reason it goes on the market and I send them over to the media and the relationship breaks down between my agent and the seller, that's out of my control, right? I've already done my job. I've created the media. I've sent it to them.
Hmm.
So my hands are off at that point. Now, if the seller then decides to go the FISBO route, the for sale by owner, and break that contract, I don't know what the terms are between breaking that contract, but they don't have the rights to use the media that I created for
Right.
the listing agent,
But
right?
they're not forced to pay you. If they,
Right.
like, let's say the neighbor said, oh, you're selling your house? I want to buy your house. And they just
Hmm.
make their own agreement after you've shown up and photographed everything, and the
Yeah.
sign is up. There's a slim chance you might get paid, not get paid, but uh,
Well, the good thing about that is when I shoot like everything that I shot today, the house that I shot today, my
mhm,
agent's going to have it tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
right.
So everything I do is very next business day turnaround, and it typically goes out by 9 a.m. So they've received it, they've paid for it
Ah,
before anybody's going to get cold feet.
so there's not a long like gap where little things could get messy. It's boom, boom, boom like
Correct.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have to deal with that.
Good stuff. Okay, I'd like to have you walk through how you do a session, what kind of things you offer. Just I don't like the word pick your brain. So wander
Hmm.
around your mind a while and give us an insider's peek into being a
Sure.
real estate photographer, the actual sessions and what you sell, how you sell it, and stuff like that.
Sure. So, because of where I'm positioned here in Green Cove Springs, Florida, I have a major metropolis area that's just north of me, but I also have a lot of rural areas that are just south of me.
Hmm.
So, I offer packages and I also offer a la carte because I'm catering to two totally different types of realtors. Um, Most of my Jacksonville agents, we have big neighborhoods with HOAs, with amenities, and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas a lot of the rural clients, they have, land and bigger, smaller homes, big land, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's less about amenities. So that way my clients are able to pick and choose a little bit better, maximize their budget. I do build in a little bit of a discount into my packages So it makes it a little bit more enticing for my clients that are my city clients. So typically my sessions book um, usually I'd say less than 7 days out. Most of my clients, they get a listing and they want to go live quick, so they're able to log into my system and book my services. Uh, as long as they book before 8 p.m. the following day, they can get me the next day if I have availability.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so what kinds of things are in packages? What kinds of things do you offer?
Sure. So I do typical interior and exterior photos. I do aerial photography as well. I am a Part 107 certified drone pilot. It's absolutely paramount that you have that. I do video services. So I do walkthrough videos as well as aerial video.
So,
And then
okay,
I also
you're
offer,
talking too
yeah.
fast for me to type. So, interior
Oh,
and exterior,
yeah.
aerial
Aerial.
with the drones,
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's for video and for photos.
video
And
and
then
photos.
Yep. And so I do walkthrough videos with a video camera, and then I also do virtual tours. And the virtual tours that I do are through two different platforms. I use the Zillow 3D Home Tour, and then I also have the Giraffe 360 system that I use for virtual tours.
Okay, I'll ask you about that later. But so,
Hmm.
so you offer, so someone could hire you to just come photograph, or
Correct.
they could hire you to photograph and do a video, or they
Right.
could hire you to do all of those and the drone photography. So there's the aerial.
Right.
And then what's the thing that you said that's a little more
Virtual
expanded?
tours.
Virtual tour. What's a virtual tour
So
that's
a virtual
different than a
tour.
video?
Right. So a virtual tour is a self-guided tour. So a video is kind of, it's on the rails. You're watching a video. A virtual tour is more of a self-guided tour where the viewer goes to a website of sorts, and they're able to click and walk through a home by dragging the mouse and kind of panning around. They can
Mm,
see in 360 degrees. It's kind of like taking a tour of the home without ever having to go to the home. It's very
got
good
it.
for your people that are buying a home like on the other side of the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know about the photography, uh, like some tips. If I was like, okay, you didn't have a mentor, but I want some mentoring.
Mhm.
Um, what kinds of, first of all, what cameras do you bring? Tripod? Do you bring
Yeah.
lights? Just some of that technical. So can you share about that?
Sure, sure. So there's two different methods that you can typically do when it comes to real estate photography. You can do the bracketed or HDR method where you shoot three images with ambient light only. Typically, those that are doing that are outsourcing their editing. Or you can do a flash and ambient blend technique that we call flambient. And
Okay, I gotta spell
typically,
that. F
yeah,
F L
F
A
L A
M.
M B I E N T,
I love it.
flambient.
Flambient. So
Yep.
flash and ambient.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's using a single ambient flame frame and multiple flash frames where you're basically light painting a room with those flash frames.
Ah,
It also, the other caveat of that is it gives you much more accurate color because you're going to do luminosity blending. So it removes a lot of the white balance issues that we typically deal with whenever we're shooting real estate because we have such crazy mixed lighting. Like here I have 5600 Kelvin coming out, and then I have 32 back here behind me on the
hmm.
wall. Right. So it helps you kind of work through those. I'm very well versed in both methods, but I do the HDR method because I outsource the editing for my interiors and
Hmm.
exteriors. I have a great editing team that I've worked with for years.
Yeah.
Um, and then in terms of cameras, I'm always shooting on a tripod and I'm always shooting with a geared head. Those are two things that I will absolutely never compromise on. a good tripod, sturdy tripod that has a telescoping center column with a geared head on it, so that you can dial in for your precise, making sure that you're level and you're true whenever you're doing your single point perspectives, that you're nice and true to the wall, and also when you're doing your vanishing point perspectives, that you can make those micro adjustments that you need to get everything right on location. I'm very much a get it right in camera, don't rely on your editing
Yes.
type
I,
thing, right?
I
Very old school
did
that way.
two-thirds of my career has been with film. So
Yeah.
other than making sure I didn't underexpose film and I didn't
Right.
way overexpose,
Yeah.
um, I cropped most of the time in the camera,
Hmm.
definitely exposed in the camera. What's a
Yeah.
geared head?
So a geared head is so you're familiar with what the ball head is, right?
Yes.
And you have like your little twist lock that you can tighten to make it
Hmm.
stop moving and loosen. So picture a ball head that has that gear, but it has it on the three different axes.
Okay.
And as you turn that knob, it actually moves the head. So you can very make micro adjustments to dial in and make sure that you're level, your panning, and your tilt
Got
back
it.
and forth. So you can dial all three of those in. So I just use the level on the back of my camera and make sure that I'm dialed in.
Got it.
Uh,
Are
yeah.
you also using a tripod with video or you're using like a
So with video, I
another piece
use
of
a
equipment?
DJI Ronin gimbal. So it's a three-way axis gimbal, electronic stabilization, and that for that I'm using I have the Nikon ZR, which is um, my webcam for me right now.
Hmm.
That's what I typically shoot my video and stuff on. For stills, I typically use I have the Nikon Z8 here with a 14 to 24 2.8 lens.
Mm.
And then on the front here, I have a large 112 millimeter circular polarizer from Maven Filters.
So it's a 14 to 28 f what?
14 to 24 f1 f2.8.
2.8.
Yeah. And so
Cool.
one of the biggest things that I tell people when you're starting doing real estate photography, if you're not planning to do video at all or anytime in the near future, save your money. Don't buy the 2.8 lens. Go with like an f4 lens or a variable aperture lens that
Hmm.
has good sharpness and quality in it. The only reason I shoot with the 2.8 is because that's also the lens that I shoot video with. So having that faster 2.8 aperture to be able to let more light in when I'm shooting video, because I'm shooting video in 4K at 60 frames per second so that I can slow it down by 50% and deliver it at 30 frames per second. So at 60 frames per second, I'm at 1/120th of a shutter speed. So I need to
Hmm.
be able to let as much light as I possibly can in without having my ISO shoot through the roof and
Right.
just have noisy, grainy, dirty video.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is not
Yeah.
good. Um,
No.
one little thing that I heard you say, which um, validates what I've been telling my friends, when we first started doing HDR,
Hmm.
they taught do 6 shots. And
Right.
then there was a point where I was in a class and they said, if you're shooting raw, 2 stops under, one right on, and one that's 2 stops over is going to give you the full
Perfectly sufficient.
range that
Correct.
now the quality of our digital files, there's a lot of meat in
There
in
is.
in that. So am I right? Is that basically what you're doing is
You're you're spot on. You're absolutely right. When I first started on the Nikon D300, you weren't even able to do two stops apart. You could only do one stop apart. So back then, I would shoot a 5 shot bracket so that I
Mhm.
could get two under. And of course, back then we were only shooting on, I think we were only getting 12-bit compressed RAWs. Nowadays, we're getting 14-bit compressed RAWs in most full frame cameras.
Mhm.
So and also you're shooting at an ISO base back then of around 200, whereas my ISO base here is 64. So these cameras are able to produce a much wider dynamic range these days
Hmm.
than we were able to do, 10, 20 years ago. So you can absolutely grab that, median file. I mean, if you really wanted to get technical with it, you could potentially get away with shooting one image and just drag it two under, drag it two over.
Hmm.
But to really make sure that you're not losing that highlight detail or your shadow detail, I always go median, two over, two under. And I just have it in the what do you call it, high speed shutter, and just boom, rip off three shots like super fast.
So you
It
have it
makes for a
set up.
very quick
So
and efficient. Yeah,
sorry. So you
go
have it
ahead.
set up so that it will take those three without you having to change. Uh,
Hmm.
and and of course you do the aperture is always the same, and it's the shutter speed that's going to change, correct?
Right. So what I operate under is what I call the two constants, one variable workflow. Um, there are photographers out there that are real estate photographers that will tell you to shoot an aperture priority. However, you're giving too much control to the camera at that point. Um, I can go on for hours about the difference between your histogram and your light meter and the way that the camera does all of that stuff. But just to save everybody all of that, come to one of my classes, you'll learn all about it. Um, so I shoot in manual, and my aperture lives at f8 interior and f16 exterior.
Mm,
My ISO lives at 500, whether I'm inside or outside. And the reason I'm at 500 and not 64 is that allows me faster shutter speeds for the interior. And with the Nikon Z8, it's a dual native ISO camera. So the signal to noise ratio that I'm getting at 500 is the same that I'm getting at ISO 64, right? So
mhm,
it's a second base ISO. So by shooting at f8 and ISO 500, whenever I'm working on my interiors, the only thing I have to adjust is my shutter speed, and I always use my histogram on the back of my camera. I never rely on my light meter because that's a reflective light meter,
mhm,
right? And it's going to lie to you all the time, depending on where you have your focus point at, all kinds of different things. But if you look at your light meter and you center up that peak, because it's typically going to look like a peak. If
mhm.
you center that peak right into the middle of the histogram using your shutter speed and get your three shots that are two over, two under, and one in the middle, you're golden every single time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Just a little from the perspective of what I do, um, because background's going to change. There's going to be more highlights and shadows and different things, and it's not always going to be a peak in
Mhm.
in another style of photography. So I
Right.
always look for the highlight and touching the right side and the shadow touching the left and not crawling up the sides. And
Right.
whatever falls in the middle is golden. I
There you
think
go.
that might be, I'm just guessing, your environments are more consistent. It's like if I always shot in a studio, then
Hmm.
they'd probably make the mountain, right? But
Right.
if you're outdoors, there can be, or if you're doing art and you're photographing an egg on a black velvet, there's not going
Right.
to be a mountain in the middle, right? There's
Right.
there's going to be a
Or
peak and a
or like when we all took that CPP test and we had to make sure that, our highlights and our shadows were just where they were supposed to be,
yeah.
right? When we took our
So
pictures of Oscar or whatever his name is.
so I got away with not doing the CPP um, for my master's. It was like the
Ah.
year after I got my master's is when they initiated the requirement that you are a certified professional. Um, so,
Hmm. So
but
now you don't have to do it.
again, it's back to
Yeah, so it's back
oh,
to CPP as optional because I know several people that got their masters without getting their CPP.
recently.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, there's gaps in, I'm sure, in my education that if I had needed to study for and submit the prints and all the things you do to get the certification, I would have learned stuff and I love to learn. So, um, too bad, so sad for me. Okay, let's see. So, when you go to a home, what are you looking for? Because I know, like, and maybe this is a whole other world, your creativity and stuff, but I
Mhm.
don't think anybody can do photographs passionately
Mhm.
uh, and not be wanting some creative satisfaction. Maybe, okay,
Right.
there are people who could do that, but I get a sense that you want to enjoy, you want to feel good, you want to feel creative
Mhm.
with your work. So,
Right.
what kinds of things are you looking for to, create images that really pop and feel good? Like when you click the
Right.
shutter, you get that little buzz.
Yeah. So, um, for me, being a person of extreme technical background, the technical side speaks to me a little bit more than the artistic side does,
Okay.
which is funny because I'm also a musician, uh, but I'm
Mm,
I'm way more technical than I am artistic. So the technical side of real estate photography is what really spoke to me and why I pushed so hard into this genre because we don't have a lot of artistic freedom, but we still need to make things look amazing,
hmm
right? And so what we have to rely on is more psychology than it is artistic, right? So it's all about composition, camera height, camera placement, angles, dynamic range, different types of things like that that we uh, as successful real estate and architectural photographers, those are the things that we look for.
mm,
Single point perspective versus vanishing point perspective, where to put the camera to have the most symmetry. One of the things that I always like to tell my clients, and this is something that always sticks in that when they hear it the first time, their light bulb just goes off and they're like, wow, that makes so much sense. So when an architect designs a home, they design a home to be viewed from the seated position,
mm,
right?
mm,
Because we spend most of our time in our homes sitting down enjoying our homes,
right.
right? So that's why whenever I photograph a home, my tripod is placed at the eye height of where you would be seated. So that way, when the end viewer looks at that picture, they're looking at it from a seated position. It's more calming, it's more comforting, right? And that goes back into that psychology of marketing and things like that, right? So when I first started learning more about real estate photography, I started diving more into Architectural Digest. Why did they choose the angles that they chose?
hmm
What how does psychology play into the marketing of a home and things like that? Those are some of the things that I really started learning early on that made me become a lot more successful a lot quicker without a lot of the training that I probably should have gotten.
That is fascinating. When
Yeah.
I'm like, let's say in an amazing building, I'm always thinking, if I'm taking some photographs that I love of architecture,
Hmm.
I kind of feel like I'm cheating because this architect designed it so that
Right.
the light would fall like this, that the
Right.
lines would be like this, that the colors and the textures give you a certain feeling.
Hmm.
And so, how is it that I can say I've created art from someone else's building?
Right.
But there's a lot of people who've won a lot of awards
Right.
in the PPA world, photographing spectacular buildings
Hmm.
in a well-crafted way. So
Right.
I guess it's the same sort of cheating if you stand just after the tunnel in Yosemite. Have you been to Yosemite?
I have not yet.
Okay,
It's on
so
my bucket
when
list.
you're driving, there's this tunnel you go through.
Hmm.
And right when you get out of the tunnel, there's a place to park, and the whole magnificence of Yosemite Valley is in front of you. And
Uh-huh.
you could just park yourself day after day right there, and the light and the snow and everything changes. And a lot of people have, won awards, sold art, postcards, everything, just standing at this, remember the old Kodak? what did they
Mm-hmm.
call it? Scenic
Uh-huh.
spot, Kodak scenic
Right.
spot. So I guess it's the same. It's not really cheating
Yeah.
because
Well,
there's
the
beauty
difference
everywhere.
is, yeah, the difference is for us, now there's a big difference between architectural photography and real estate photography, right?
Yes.
So real estate photography, we get, um, I have shot some amazing homes, some absolutely amazing multi-million dollar architectural just masterpieces. Um, but I have also shot crack houses, literal crack houses.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you never know what you're going to get sometimes. And
Right.
sometimes you could end up shooting both of those. I remember years ago, I shot my cheapest and most expensive listing in the same day back to
Wow.
back. I shot a single wide trailer on a dirt road down in Putnam County that was going for like $28,000 with the land,
Wow.
and I could see through the floor at the ground underneath, when I was shooting it. And
Hmm.
then I left there and I went and photographed Richard Petty's lead mechanic's home on a private island in Palm Coast, $10.2 million mansion right after that.
Yeah.
So you never know.
And
You never know
they
what
all
you're going to
need
get from day to day, from
they
job
all
to
need
job.
to sell.
That's
My
right.
neighborhood, my neighborhood, I've lived here since I don't know, 88, something like that.
Hmm.
And it was a pretty derelict neighborhood. The original owners had died years ago and had gone to a lot of renters. And there was a bona fide crack house just 2 blocks away. And the day that it sold and they turned it into this most charming Victorian place with a little um, craft where you could get lotions and candles and things like that, champagne taste, uh,
Yeah.
was a good day in my life because it was part of that renovation. And
Right.
now we're highly desirable, and people can't afford to live here even though they'd love it. So it's
Right.
important work to do those too, and not just the multi-million-dollar homes.
That's one of the big things that I tell everybody is that you have to approach every home with the same level of grace,
Mm,
because for whoever owns that home, that is chances are their most valuable asset that they have in their life. And we're not here to judge anybody's living conditions or anything like that. We're here to help them, get the most money they can for that valuable asset that they have in their life. And so I never go into any situation thinking this is just a 3-2.
mm,
Um, it's always this is somebody's castle. This is somebody's $10 million mansion.
right.
Right. So I caution all real estate photographers to have that mindset going in. Keep uh, keep your feelings in check when it comes to it, because um, that's somebody's castle. And also, there's cameras everywhere in people's houses these days.
So
So, don't be
if
that
you're
real
like,
estate photographer that's walking around and gets put on TikTok or YouTube or
yeah,
something by saying
right,
something very distasteful
right,
in somebody's home. Yeah.
right, right. Oh, I love that. Well, we are almost out of time, and
Oh,
what a wealth of knowledge, and this just scratches the surface.
yeah.
I know
Have me
that
back sometime.
uh, anytime I'd
We'll
love
go
it.
deeper.
Um, uh, and I know that you mentor people, you have
Mhm.
classes, all of those things. How could someone um, connect with you and find out what you're up to?
Sure. So if you go to my website, jwleemedia.com, it should have a little pop up that comes up where they
Spell
can
that
sign
again.
up for
J
JW Lee Media.
W
So
E
that's
E
JWLEE media.com.
media.com.
Mm-hmm. So
And
if you go there, there should be a little pop up that comes up where you can put in your email. I do not spam people. I might send out, 5 or 6 emails a year. That's it.
mhm.
Um, But anytime I have something that's coming up, I try to get it on my calendar there as soon as I possibly can. I am an insanely busy person, so sometimes that calendar gets neglected.
Hmm.
But you could also just reach out to me through any of the socials. I'm at JW Lee Media on all of the different social platforms. And if you'd like to email me, you can email me at John, it's JON, at jwleemedia.com. Um, but yeah, I'm always here for photographers. I love helping out. I'm transitioning into doing a lot more education and mentoring and things like that.
Hmm.
So I've been speaking at Imaging USA. I've been speaking all over the country. I've got a class coming up in September in North Carolina. I will be speaking again this year at Imaging. I will actually be speaking twice, doing
Yay.
a full day pre-conference class on Friday, and I will be doing a 90-minute platform on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And I know, well, first of all, I'm so grateful that you found the time to sit for an hour and have this conversation. And I know
I
there's
love doing these things.
there's people around the world. This has been listened to in 110 countries. So
That's awesome.
you're changing lives.
That's I absolutely love that part about this chapter of my photography career. To be able to reach out and help people. I know I know what real estate photography and photography has done for my life and my family.
Hmm.
Um, and if I can help somebody else achieve that level of freedom and independence, um, it's so rewarding. And I
Hmm.
genuinely love and care about photographers, and that's all I ever want to do is
Yeah.
help people get that foot in the door and start. I just got a message from one of my students from my last week long class that I taught down in Miami, and he said, "Man, I'm up here in Tennessee. I'm killing it, and I'll be making six figures by the end of the year thanks to everything you taught me in that class." And just saying it again, I just got chills.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps on my arm. That's so amazing, because he's a young father, married, and he said to me that your class changed my life, and that's
Isn't that?
amazing.
Yeah. So
It's
you and I,
amazing.
we share the same heart for that. When someone
Absolutely.
is successful, it's almost, I feel sometimes selfish because I feel like it's happened to me, but I don't have to do all the hard work.
Hmm.
I have a client that she photographs horses, and our last conversation, she was like, "Yep, well, I closed a $9,000 sale, and I think this one that just booked me, it's going to be about 20,000."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Yeah, as it should be." And so, with that in mind, I know that you are offering three lucky photographers an opportunity to have a 1 hour coaching session with you.
Yes, free 1 hour coaching session. So the first three people that reach out to me and mention Lucy's podcast, I will be giving away a free 1 hour mentorship.
Great. And I'm guessing that if someone's listening to this 6 months from now or 2 years from now, they can write you and say, "Hey, do you have any space? Are you offering other
Absolutely.
sessions?" And you'll look at your calendar for them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, I do quite a few of these. I do 1 or 2 hour mentor sessions online. I do offer some longer coaching platforms as well, kind of on a case by case thing. It's
Hmm.
really just to be able to, I don't want to say, oh, sign up with me for a year and you get it for $8,000, because everybody requires a different level of attention and the amount of work that needs to go into it. And I'm not trying to do this to make money. I'm trying to do this to help people. So, I like to customize things to where it meets, what they need
Yeah.
versus
And
what
you
my
get
bank account
rewarded for the
needs.
time and effort. But yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So last question is like either your parting thought or something that you might have thought, "Oh, I should have mentioned that one thing." So either
Yeah.
one, what do you have for us?
Okay, so my parting thought is get involved at your local, state, and national levels. Okay, PPA, get involved with PPA education. Get involved with your local guilds. We've seen so many local organizations and state organizations that are starting to kind of crumble across the United States, and they really need people to get in there and start learning and start working, support your community, support other photographers, get in there and learn, work towards, get into photo competitions, push yourself outside your comfort zone, work towards a degree, earn your credentials, your CPP, your masters, your craftsman, things like that. Those things, a lot of photographers think that, why do I need that? What do I need my masters for? Are people going to pay me more if I have my masters? I'm here to tell you they absolutely will, because I have a sheet that I give to every one of my clients, and it gets them listings because of all of the different awards and stuff that I've won. So I do that not only for myself, to give myself something to strive towards, to be better every day, because I always want to be better than I was yesterday. Um, but I also do that for my clients so that they have ammunition to go into that listing appointment with and say, hey, look at how freaking awesome my photographer
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Sign the listing agreement with me.
So
So
it's a win-win-win because
that's right.
it's good for your own growth and creativity. It's good for your income and it's great for the realtors. So you're supporting
Absolutely. And it's
everybody.
great for the photography community.
Yes, because if nobody entered, uh, I don't know, the opportunity to see what other people are up to, even
Hmm.
though often I think I should just freaking sell my cameras.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
can count on one hand how many real estate photos I've put in a photo competition too. I very rarely do I ever put any of my real estate work in there.
uh-huh.
I'm always doing, portraits and landscape and things like that, and stuff like this that's
Yeah.
on the wall behind me.
Mhm.
That's my, to be honest, that's kind of why I got into real estate photography, was so I could make money to buy all the fancy photography toys that I always wanted
I love
when I
it.
was out there doing landscape photography
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah.
that. So,
So it
yeah,
gives
it's
you the
fun.
space to do the things that are your creative uh, passions
That's
and
right.
making a nice income so that it's you're not having to go dig ditches or something.
Right? It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I or John, whichever you
Yeah.
prefer.
Both.
This has just been a real treat, and I love to always learn new things. So, um,
Very cool.
opportunity to learn from you just makes me super, super happy because this was all good stuff. So, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure. And anytime you need me back, just let me know.
Okie dokie. Hello, I'm here for the wrap up, but before I do, there was something we were supposed to mention. Um, Jonathan is an ambassador for a company called Giraffe 360, which is a tool that he's using with his real estate um, organizations, or I'm not sure because we didn't get a chance to do a little, what is that? But if you're someone that can use the product, there's a 10% discount available. So it's JW Lee at Giraffe 360 if you want to find out more about it. So, what I loved about this conversation is um, how clear he was about all kinds of things around real estate. We talked about how he started his business by creating flyers and going to realty offices and then doing good work. And then now people just refer him. He builds those relationships. He has created guidelines for himself about what he will and won't do. One is he doesn't discount to realtors unless they've worked together for a year and at least 10 homes. He, number two, makes sure that the realtors let the homeowners know that they need to be clean and well staged, needs to be prepared. That's not his job. He does 3 to 5 homes per day, and he doesn't have time to do that. And also for people to understand who they're working with. setting the tone, having prep sheets, letting people know about his awards in photography. And then we talked about the money and how through his system called HD Photo Hub, when they sign up and they book, uh, before they can download the images, they have to pay. So we talked about that. We talked about his packages. They can include interior and exterior, both video and stills, uh, drone photography, doing, the bird's eye view, both stills and video, virtual tours, self-guided tours. So there's a lot that can be offered that helps sell a home. And then we talked about his equipment and cameras, bracketing and HDR, the option of doing both flash and ambient light. He called it flambient. And the advantage to that is you get better color. Um, we talked about his tripod and a gear head and a DJI Ronin gimbal. His f-stop is always at f8 in the interior and ISO 500. And I loved him saying that every home is a palace to someone and to give the same level of grace to a trailer park home or, a mansion. So that's it for now, and hope you have learned a bunch. I know I have. I love to learn more about an area that I have not been doing. So that's it for now, and until next time.